there, folks. Welcome to our Vegas Nation Stadium show, where we provide inside analysis and all the up-to-date information on what is happening with the NFL Stadium set to open in 2020. I'm Ed Graney, sports columnist for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm pleased to again be joined by our man on all things stadium, Rick Velotta, along with a special guest, Paul Dudzinsky, project manager for the Las Vegas Stadium Mortenson McCarthy joint venture. How are you guys? Paul, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Rick, how are you?
Doing well.
Paul, I'm going to start with you because it's the first time you've joined us, and we really appreciate it. So people at home might not know who you are. Why don't you give them kind of a base version of who you are, what the job is, and how the joint venture kind of fits into this whole construction of the stadium people are watching right now?
Sure. So the Mortenson-McCarthy joint venture is built up of two companies, Mortenson Construction and McCarthy Building Company, and for two different reasons. Mortenson being a big sports builder with a huge sports resume, very much this is one of their specialty product types. Right. And McCarthy Building Company, a local general contractor here. We've been in Las Vegas for about 40 years, and so we bring a lot of the local relationships, some subcontractors and things like that to help kind of navigate Clark County and just our local economy.
And you guys have done this in many, in terms of arenas, stadiums across the country?
We've joint ventured together before on other various projects, and so excited about just our opportunity out here, working for the Raiders, just a wonderful ownership group that we've got, and so that's a good part of why the joint venture was formed.
Okay, so Paul, there's a lot of social media buzz. We're worried about two things around here. I'm obsessed with naming rights. That hasn't been decided yet. I don't think you have anything to do with that. But the other social media buzz is the timeline. Is this on time? If it's not on time, it seems very compacted. People are excited about July of 2020. Can it happen? Will it open? So the social media buzz, a lot of it coming from Oakland and not a shot probably directly from the black hole, says it is behind schedule. Everything Rick reports, it's on schedule. Can you kind of dispel all rumors? Tell us where you are in construction and maybe some deadlines that are coming forward that people can watch for.
Yep. As the joint venture, we committed to a 31-month schedule early on, with July 31st of 2020 being our completion date, and we are still on track for that. So we have a critical path method schedule, right. CPM schedule. That's kind of our lingo in the construction industry, which helps us define, what are the most critical portions of the project. And the current low one you can see kind of going up right now is all of our roof canopies.
Yes.
So that's tracking well right now, which will move us into another critical piece of the project, which will be raising all the roof cables. We've got a very unique cable net roof structure that we'll tackle next, starting here in the next 2 weeks or so. We're going to start laying out cables in the lower bowl.
Rick, let me ask you, because you've written about and talked about kind of the misinterpretation. Why do you think the misinformation is out there on deadlines? Is this just something like the social media world takes to task, or in terms of, is this thing going to be on time? Is it not? Where do you think it comes from, and why do you think it's kind of prevalent?
There's a lot of different reasons why, I think, but probably the most important one, though, is that most of it's coming from Oakland, and they have some wishful thinking that this isn't going to happen, and that they are going to be able to keep the Raiders. Well, we right. kind of know that isn't in the cards, and the Raiders are going to be in Las Vegas. It's a done deal. The NFL has approved it. Everybody's approved it. And, of course, we have this big stadium that's under construction. I think another part of it is that it's continually compared with the stadium under construction in Los Angeles. And that appears to be farther along when you just look at it. Just like when you look at our stadium, it looks like it's maybe behind what LA is doing.
When you look at pictures, I think people just see visually, wait a minute, that looks like a lot further along.
But these are two different projects, right. Two different groups that are building them. As Paul indicated, they've got a number of tasks set forth in a schedule. And if one thing isn't going on, something else is going on, probably in some place where we can't see it inside the stadium.
We talk about, look, building these things can be very dangerous, these stadiums and the amount of equipment and what you guys deal with on a daily basis. So take us through that, and Mortenson and your company and everyone's dedication out there to safety on a daily basis to make sure nothing tragic would happen. So can you tell us about not only your commitment to safety, is this the most dangerous part, or is there something more imposing down the road that could also get kind of dangerous?
Sure. So, our commitment to safety is the most important thing that we do every day, right? And so that's the culture we build, within all of the craft workers on site. If you can see, there's a number of banners and things like that throughout the stadium that just helps reinforce that culture, right? We want that to be at the forefront of everybody's minds when they show up at work. We go through a stretch and flex morning routine with all the construction workers on site right now at 5:30 a.m., which is our start time, just to make sure that that's at the forefront of their mind when they start their day. They plan their tasks and things like that. So safety is the most important. The roof truss canopy erection is definitely a dangerous activity, right? We've got men and women that are working 130 to 180 feet off the ground, scaling these beams, but we've got a very detailed tie-off process where these people are in harnesses. You may drive by and you'll see them up there, and they look really small in comparison to the size of the steel. Right. But guarantee you, all of those people have a secondary safety mechanism, tied off to portions of that steel, so that we would, guarantee that, from a fall hazard perspective, we wouldn't have anything like that. So,
Rick, you've seen it from afar and up close and personal in terms of Mortenson McCarthy's commitment to safety. Can you talk a little bit? You tour it all the time.
Yeah.
You've been on the concourse. You've been inside. Tell us what you've seen in terms of the commitment to safety and making sure everything goes well and everyone's healthy out there and they just get their job done.
Well, I have been out there when they've started calisthenics in sometimes, and that was like
I feel like I'm
early,
at the spin
early.
class. You're stretching people out there.
And it's, you think, well, are these the players that are out there?
Yes.
No, but they do this on an everyday basis, and one of the things that Paul mentioned was the fact that there are banners and signs all over the development emphasizing this, and I think that the emphasis is very important in order to remind everybody. But at the same time, the people who are working on this are very conscious of how significant this is. They don't want to get hurt.
No.
They want to go home. The idea is everybody comes in, everybody goes home every day, and I think that part of the excitement about this is the legacy nature of this project. A lot of these workers who are out there are going to be very proud of being able to tell their kids and their grandkids, hey, this is a project that I helped build, and I'm here to be a witness to that.
You, the Review Journal recently had a story on the district transportation part of this. We can't do a stadium show without getting transportation updates.
Right.
You refused to give me thoughts on the naming rights. I'm still excited for that one day. But so what's happening with the transportation in terms of the new updates?
Well, there is going to be a committee established that's going to actually come up with some of the circulation plan and some of the additional details on access to and from the stadium. It's a 6.6 square mile area that they're talking about. So it's not just the stadium grounds itself, but everything around it. And we're talking about the RTC, Clark County, Nevada Department of Transportation. All of them are going to be contributing to this to come up with ideas on how to make this area more pedestrian friendly and to make it so that it's easily accessible to the stadium.
Paul, every time I go by, I was actually at Mandalay Bay for the Aces last week. I came out of the garage and you're staring at it. And I pass it all the time, but for the first time, man, that's a football stadium. Has this gone kind of to form as other? Has there been any unique challenges here? Has this been easier? I mean, it's never easy to build a stadium, but has this been simpler in terms of the process? Can you compare this stadium to other ones you've worked on?
There's some uniquities. Southern Nevada, we've got great weather here, right?
Right.
So if you pin that against Minnesota, where they went through two very tough winters,
Yeah.
right? And snow removal and things like that. We don't have to deal with that here. We get a minimal amount of rainfall, but we do have to deal with some of that. You can kind of see it from the camera sometimes, the wind, right?
We're seeing it right now.
Wind
it's
is
the
one
camera.
of
It's
them.
really not the stadium moving.
Yeah, that we have to deal with and plan for. We have kind of a windy season here in Southern Nevada.
Right.
So, and when you're talking about some of these roof canopy sections that weigh upwards of 320, 340 tons, we have kind of a limiting factor that, if winds are projected to be over 19 miles an hour, we won't pick for that day.
Okay.
So, but
Okay.
we build those wind days into our schedule, knowing that could be something that we've got to deal with and contend with and shift our crews to be doing other things. So,
Rick, I did want to get one side note here because there's another project going on in terms of the Raiders. We talked about it before taping, the practice facility at Henderson. It's obviously not as dubious as what we're looking here with the stadium, but I think people, especially in Henderson that are watching, would like to know how that's coming along.
Right now, we had a report from Mark Bedane, the president
Yep.
of the Raiders, who indicated that everything is on schedule and they are planning to open the practice facility in the spring of next year,
Okay.
prior to the draft, prior to the stadium
Right.
opening. So hopefully they'll have all their executives on site by the time that things get really exciting at the stadium. And then obviously a move of that caliber, bringing it from all the materials from California, where they are now, to Las Vegas is a monumental task, and that's part of it. But the fact is that the building that they're building to prepare for that is on schedule at this point.
So everything's on schedule.
It is.
I don't know where this Twitter from Oakland comes from. You know, I read all these tweets, and I think I do know where it comes from. But Rick, great stuff as always. Follow him, Rick Velotta at the Review Journal here at Vegas Nation. Paul, we know how busy you are. I mean, obviously, we just need to see this shot of that stadium to understand your free time is very valuable. We really appreciate you joining us. It really helps us out, and it tells the people at home more about this stadium. Well, there you have it. We hope you enjoyed this show. And remember, for all your Stadium and Raiders coverage, go to reviewjournal.com daily, and always check back here at Vegas Nation, where we're going to continue to bring you the stadium shows as the project's built before our very eyes. For the Review Journal's Rick Velotta, all things stadium, and our special guest, Paul Dudzinsky, I'm Ed Graney.